Hello, I am Betsy Griscom Claypoole, but I am known as Betsy Ross. I was born in Philadelphia on January 1st, 1752. My family were Quakers. Quakers are against any kind of war or violence. When I was about 6, I started school. In our regular lessons, girls learned how to sew and make clothing, as well as read and do math. My 5 older sisters had become seamstresses when they were teenagers. I learned even more sewing from my grand-aunt Sarah Griscom. Since I was so good at sewing, I became a seamstress at the age of 12. The owner of the business was John Webster. A couple of years after that, on November 4th, 1773, I got married to John Ross, who was another shop worker. Together we made our own business, which was very successful. Because John Ross wasn't a Quaker, my family asked me to say I was sorry for marrying him, but I refused, so I had to leave the Quakers. Later, John joined the Continental Congress. Early in 1776, John was badly injured. He died of his injuries on January 1st, 1776, when I was only 24. One day in 1776, 3 congressmen came to my shop and brought a sketch of a flag. They needed a sample made. I showed them some ways to make it better. I suggested the flag to be longer and instead of 6 star points, 5 star points. They asked me to make a sample to show the Continental Congress. On July 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress declared the Declaration of Independence from England. A year later, on June 14th, 1777, a new flag for the United States of America was passed into law. This flag looked a lot like the sample I sewed, but historians don't know if I was the one who sewed the original flag. I will keep that a secret for now. On June 15th, 1777, I married a sailor named Joseph Ashburn. Not too long after that, Joseph went off to the Navy. Later, his company was defeated by the British and they had captured Philadelphia. I decided to stay in Philadelphia while others fled. The British occupied my city, but I helped the Americans by sewing tents and clothing that were snuck out of the city to Washington and his troops at Valley Forge. I also helped care for the wounded soldiers brought back to the city. Finally, the British were defeated and left Philadelphia in 1778. Soon after, Joseph returned safely from his latest voyage, and I still kept sewing. We had our first child, a girl we named Ascilla, born on September 15th, 1779. Later that same year, Joseph set sail on the Lion, which went all the way to Europe chasing British ships. The Lion got captured, and Joseph and some other men got put in prison called the Old Mill. Joseph died in prison of disease there. I heard news of this from my old friend John Claypoole, who was a sailor and had known me since we were children. Losing yet another husband was sad, but there were some other things to be happy about. Eliza was healthy, and the American Revolution had ended. 2 years later, John Claypoole asked me to be his wife. We were married on May 8th, 1783. John left the sea to help make our business grow. We became very successful flag and furniture makers. We had 5 children: Eliza, Clarissa, Susan, Rachel, and Jane. We joined the Free Quakers, who were just like the Quakers but recognized that sometimes it was necessary to fight for freedom. We helped free slaves stay free, worked to end slavery, and demanded fair and healthy treatment for prisoners. By 1794, we were very successful, and our shop provided cushions, pillows, curtains, and more for the capital of the new American government in Philadelphia. We could afford fancy parties and a big house. In 1800, John suffered a stroke. He could no longer work. He was in bed for the next 17 years. I kept working in the shop and taking care of him, but sometimes had to receive help from other free Quakers to pay the bills. The War of 1812 between America and England provided more orders for lots of flags. John died in 1817. 10 years later, Betsy finally stopped working and let her daughter and niece take over the shop. She was 75 years old. Betsy died on January 30th, 1836, when she was 84 years old, in Philadelphia. Her nephew William Canby remembered that she was beloved and respected by all who have ever known her.